Hello and welcome to the Radiate Wellness Podcast with your host, metaphysician, Reiki master, and hypnotherapist, Christy Clemens Hoffman. Each week, we will discover teachings, tips, and tools to radiate your best life ever with practitioners, authors, and luminaries to help you on your path. Wellness, joy, peace, abundance. What do you want to radiate?
Hello and welcome back to the Radiate Wellness Podcast. Today we radiate abundance with Janine Lowe, who is the author of Feng Shui Your Way to Abundance. Now, Janine is a renowned expert in Chinese astrology, Feng Shui, body language, and is also an interior designer, which I think would help with Feng Shui. Since beginning her career in 2004, Janine has provided chart readings for a diverse range of clients, from celebrities, business leaders, and to private individuals, helping them uncover their destiny and personality traits through birth dates and times of birth. But she's also an award-winning Feng Shui consultant who collaborates with both affluent individuals and large corporations to enhance prosperity and harmony in their spaces. All right, we can end there. We know what you're doing. And you do a lot of stuff. I didn't realize when I said yes to interviewing you that how much you did.
Yeah, Christy, I think really it started with Feng Shui many years ago before I did it professionally. And then when you deal with Feng Shui, like you said, you're dealing with interiors of people's houses, yes, and buildings. So interior design was like a follow-on for me very easily. Metaphysics Chinese astrology was very interesting to me because your date of birth, when you relate it, you can do it. So you do someone's charts, or you can relate it also to the house you live in, because some people go into houses and the house may not work with them. And it's because the house may be built in 1929, and they might be born in 1983. So that's a snake pig clash, you see. So I got into it because I wanted to understand what's people's energies with their own houses and why it didn't work.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
I never would have thought of that.
But it was something that came through. So then I decided to learn body language. Richard Bandler, Paul McKenna, and Michael O'Neill were doing a session for a week locked in a hotel. And I went and worked with them. I think it was about 300 of us, which was very exciting, where I learned body language, NLP. So they all work when you go into Feng Shui a house or you spend time with people. It's very important to realize what people are thinking before they're thinking it, if that makes sense.
It does. So how did you even learn about Feng Shui?
The reason is being an intuitive from a child. Many years ago, people didn't really like intuitives. They might have even called them witches, yes. And my mother didn't like it, yet my nanas did. So I had to gently come away from it. And then one of my girlfriends, she said to me, "Oh, why don't you learn Feng Shui? Because you can, shall we say, hide behind it, but you can use it as a tool, and the tool of your intuition and Feng Shui." So I literally learned Feng Shui from the basics up. And there's always so much to learn. So when I left my mum and married my husband at 19, he loved it all. So then I was able to mix the both of them together. So by then I had learnt Feng Shui, and I love buildings. I did photography for buildings. And when you buy something, or when you see something you want to buy, there's energy between you and that house, apartment, condo in your country or whatever. And it just felt really good to do that. So I learned Feng Shui and did it for myself to begin with. But then obviously my friends were like, "Oh, look at your results. Come into my house." Yeah. And then I decided to do it professionally. So when you're doing something you love, I feel the universe hears you. And lots of different people, what I call helpful people, came into my life. Lots of mentors came in. And that's how I ended up doing all the other things that were on my bio.
Wow. Well, no, so you mentioned being an intuitive from a very early age. Now, in another bio that I have here, it says that your priest advised you to shut that off.
Yes, my mom was very much into her religion, which is fine. So my husband to be and I were both DJs, and I saw his car and him in it go up in flames. Yeah. And because I didn't have any filter then, I was like, oh my God, I've just seen Robert gone up in flames in a car. And I was watching it from the outside. Anyway, 3 days later, the car accident happened and I was actually in it, but I was thrown out. So what I saw was the accident. Well, my mum absolutely freaked. So she called a priest into me. But he wasn't just any old priest, I have to tell you, he was lovely. He was one of these that went out to Peru and looked after children, and he was amazing. He actually married me to my husband. And he just said, you know, I think you've got a gift, but there's people that are very, very frightened of it, and you have to stop it. And I said, well, I can't stop it because it just comes out of my mouth without me, you know, oh, there's someone at the door, and then nobody's there, and then the door knocks. So I became really quiet and didn't speak, or, you know, I'd get on my decks and do my DJ bit, but I just couldn't. So I literally imploded with it. So when I luckily married my husband quite young, I came out of that and started to breathe again because it made me really ill. I got really ill. No one knew why I was ill, but it's because I was being quiet about my intuition. The only way I knew how to deal with it is to be quiet.
For that reason, I advise people to not shut it off. You can turn it down, you can tune it out, but that energy's got to go somewhere, right?
And it just made me really ill. As I say, that happened when I was about 17. But I spent a lot of time with my nanas. My mum used to always send me to my nanas, which was amazing. I had the best nanas, and they loved it all, and they would play along with my little games and all this sort of thing. So I spent a lot of time with my nanas, which was great. It's only when I got to, like, you know, the awkward 15, 16, 17 years old that it just got even worse with her. But it is what it is. You have to understand it. It was years later, I was with my father outside their house, and I said, oh, Dad, I've just felt water going into your house as I was leaving. And he said, really? I said, yeah, like in your bedroom. And he had a bungalow. And I was like, I don't know what's happened. Anyway, that night it flooded and went straight through my dad's room and all over his bed. Anyway, long story short, my dad came to see me, and he told me that he was very intuitive, which was one of my nanas, her son. And he said that he'd dulled it down completely being around mum. And he said, when you said that, he said it was like a light just came through, and he was like able to be more like he could. But he was very much like that. We spent a massive amount of time together. But being with my mum, he had to dull it down, which is interesting. Yeah.
And we can make these adjustments, but I never recommend to do that because it can make you implode, as you said. Right. And that's an uncomfortable thing. It can result in depression, anxiety, insomnia, et cetera, et cetera.
So having learned Feng Shui, it was then very easy to go into people's houses, use my intuition as I walk in, because like people bring you in and they say, oh, I want to meet somebody, or I want to have more wealth, or my husband's having a bad career, or whatever. But actually, as I walk in, I already pick up the energy of what they want.
So they don't really even have to tell you much about what they want. I'm wondering, does it work in a way backward, that you can walk into somebody's house and tell how they're actually living their life?
As in the book, Feng Shui Your Way to Abundance, basically, your house is up in 9 segments. So when you Feng Shui your house, it's 9 segments. And I'll go through them quickly. Fame, good relationships, creativity, helpful people, career, wealth, ancestry, good fortune, and health. So when I go into someone's house, it's really interesting because where things aren't working is where their clutter is. So for me to go in is like Cluedo. So when I go in, obviously I work out all the directions, and wherever they keep their clutter is their actual stagnated part of their house. So when I bring up, like I was at someone's house the other week, and I went in, I was training some Feng Shui consultants, and we went into this house, and we went into the northwest, which is helpful people, and the man of the house, and there was all cracks. He just had all this work done in the house. And I said, oh, relationship not good with men then? And she just looked at me like, how do you know? Yeah. And I was like, and I showed my girls because they saw it all. Yeah. And I just thought, you know what? It's teaching. When you're teaching people, when you've done it for so long, I just walk into a room and can see immediately what isn't right. And I'm not talking about the chairs next to the table in a wrong way. It's just the way the people use certain rooms in their house in certain ways. And that's what the beauty of Feng Shui is. You can be an absolute beginner and start, and you can literally see the difference as soon as you start.
My goodness. Yeah. So you could basically read a person by going to their home and get an idea for what people find important, what's working in their life, what's not. Okay.
Yeah.
So how does this all work? How does this work with the clutter? Like, what does that do?
So if you go to a drawer in your kitchen that you chuck keys in, chuck batteries in, chuck everything in, yeah? Because we all got that drawer. We've all got that drawer. And when you need a battery, you go in, you can never find the battery, but it's somewhere in that drawer, yeah? So basically you go in and that drawer will be in a certain area of the house, yeah? And when you have that mapped out, you will see that as soon as you start to clear that drawer in that area, things start to work. And the reason is that energy is stuck. It's clogging up your brain. You know you don't want to go to that drawer because you know that drawer is a pain. Or should we change it? And let's say your wardrobe, yeah. Is your wardrobe a 12 or a 14? Or is it both? Yeah. What is it? Because sometimes people have winter clothes and summer clothes because we all have different weight fluctuations. So if you start the morning and you go in, you're rushing out to work or rushing somewhere and you can't find the clothes you know, and the night before you think, oh, I've just got to find that, must do it before I go to work, and you don't, then in the morning you initially start with the day where you're feeling disorganized. But if your clothes are all organized, you start your day in a really good thing. So that's what I mean. It brings with it stress. So being more organized, getting rid of clutter, gets rid of your stress. It doesn't have to be OCD. That's what I'm talking about, stagnant. That's my example to you. Decluttering isn't that bad, by the way, because your clutter is someone else's. It's their gift. You know, they want to have it.
Yes. Now, there are some people that I'm thinking of who are walking paradoxes in a way. Like I'm thinking of a dear friend of mine who thrives with, or believes that she thrives with clutter. I think better when there's clutter. Is that even possible? I don't want to take too much of your time, but I would like to ask you a few simple favors. First of all, please rate, review, and share this podcast wherever you're listening. You know, it sounds like a simple little thing, and it is, but it has a huge impact for us because it helps other people find us in the podcasting algorithms. I don't know how it works, but I do know that it helps a lot. Next, if you would subscribe or follow wherever you're listening, whether that's YouTube or Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Pandora, Spotify, wherever you're listening, just hit subscribe or follow, and that helps you and it helps us. It helps you because then you receive notifications when we have a new episode that's out. It helps us because, again, algorithm magic, I don't know what happens, but it helps. And then finally, you can support our podcast in a tangible way by going to radiatewellnesscommunity.com/podcast and then click on support the show. Now, we have a new feature too. We are now on Patreon. You can find us on Patreon. You can also find the link to Patreon when you go to radiatewellnesscommunity.com/podcast. So on Patreon for $3 a month or $5 a month, you can support your metaphysical and spiritual growth. You can learn about upcoming guests and you can get early and ad-free versions of the shows. So please support us. This podcast is free for you to listen, but we have costs and quite frankly, they come out of my pocket. So if you like this content, if you get a lot out of it, please see what you can do to give back. Thank you so much.
I think that will be part of her personality. People who thrive in clutter find it very hard to let go of things. And as long as those things are around them, they feel safe. But it doesn't mean it's right or wrong, but that's the way they are. Like, I'm a rescuer of street cats, yeah? And if I haven't got 4 or 5 running around, I feel out of thing, but they're not clutter. But other people might think they're clutter. How can you have that many cats? You know, you have to take it with the personality. But if I went in, as I have gone into clutter-filled houses, As soon as I start to work in the area with them, I said, would you think you can let go of this? They're like, oh, no, no, no. It could be as small as a paper bag. It's very hard because that's their mental attitude to what they don't want to lose anything. And I'm sure if you've gone back in their life without getting into psychology, that they've lost a lot of things. And that's why they like to live around that sort of event. But for me in Feng Shui, if I'm brought in, they've got to pay me. So they've got to get a result. I come in and I'm, if you want this result, then you have to paint that wall red. And they're like, oh, really? And I said, yeah, that's the only way, if that's my suggestion.
Yes. And this is a good point. It's like when somebody is ready to make a change, they will hire you or another feng shui consultant, but they're ready to make changes and they're ready to look at things differently. That's true.
But they can be very, as you all can be very negative. Sometimes not them, but say their husband or their family, as you walk in, they're like, the husband will come home for the day when you're there and he's not normally there, and he'll poo-poo it, and I'll be like, that's okay, I'll have worked his chart out and I'll say, this happened to you on this such and such a day, didn't it? And he'll be like, how do you know that? Yeah. So you have to go in with the bag of tools that will make sure that people will believe in what they do. But the thing is, as soon as they start to do it, it works. That's all I say. Just try it.
What can it hurt? Rearrange a room, clear a clutter. What can that hurt?
But the thing is, clearing clutter, you can actually physically feel them go like that. Oh, I've got to do that. And sometimes, like if your grand's died or a relation, you keep things of theirs and they think that you mean that's clutter. And the answer is no, that's not clutter. You will keep that in the east, but you keep it neatly in the east so that it's there. Because that pictures of your grandmother, granddad, all that is lovely. It's historic. It's important. That rocking chair she gave you. So you just put it in the right area and that energy is their energy in your house, all sorted.
I like that. I went into someone's home to just kind of clear the energy. And I'm not a feng shui consultant, but the teenage daughter was having some troubles. And I went into her room, and typical teenage room of a girl, right? She had photos of her friends all over the walls, the celebrities that she loves all over the walls. And she had these little figurines that she collected on the shelves and everything. I said, okay. And I don't even know any of this stuff, but I was like, the energy in this room is not healthy for you. Don't get rid of pictures of your friends and important people, but put them in order, sort them out, arrange them nicely. Take your figurines, group them by what program they come from, what anime they come from, or by size or whatever. And you could feel it.
Yeah. And if she did it, she would love it.
She would love it. Absolutely, she would love it. So, what are some simple feng shui tips that listeners can start applying in their homes right now for increased abundance?
Okay. My favorite tip is to work in the kitchen because that's the heart of the house. When you move house, the last thing you should take out of the house is in the kitchen, and the first thing you should put into the next house is the last thing you took out. Okay. And the reason you'll understand energy clearing is that you take your good energy out and you move to your next house, and the last thing you take out is your good energy from the other house. Because like you say, energy clearing is very important. Keeping the positive chi where you move to. So that's the tip if you're thinking of moving. First thing in the next house. Tips are very important. If you have a house, or as you said, condo, if you have an entrance, your front door is always the most important because that's how you come in and that's how people recognize you. And you often see people say, oh, I've got 2 bay trees, one either side. And the reason for that is that you're making like a runway into your house, as in, say you were going to, being famous and you're walking in. So it's giving an entrance. Always make sure that your front door is clean because that's the mouth to the house, and also all the metal knockers, all that, they're all thing. As you come into your house, have a mirror on the left-hand side. So if you open your door like this, the mirror would be there. Yeah. So the idea is that the energy from outside comes in, hits the mirror and bounces through the house. A very simple thing to do. That just is really good to bring the outside energy in. Don't use plugs in your sink. use stones. I live on a beach, so, large stones on the sink, not the plug, so that always the energy or your wealth isn't going down the plug hole. Because we only put a plug in if we're going to use the sink, don't we? And so it's empty. So if you put like a stone on it, whenever you wash your hands, it's just trickling through. Yeah. And obviously put the toilet seat down. The reason they say that is anything like bathrooms where there's hot the energy, they say the money goes down the plug hole. So it's very important. That's a really good thing to do, very easy to do. And also where you also make sure that your bedroom has no TV, we know, but no mirror facing you when you're sleeping.
Oh, why is that?
They say, and I think it's true, that when you sleep, it's like your spirit leaves your body and then goes and travels. So a mirror helps that. It should travel anyway, but a mirror isn't something it wants to face. And also, I believe mirrors always remember things. Don't know if it was from a kid watching one of these scary films, but so that's important. And I always put mirrors inside doors. So inside your wardrobe door, put your mirror in there so you can open your mirror that way. And then the room literally has no TV, no mirror. You shouldn't take your mobile phones to bed with you. I do. And just very calm bedrooms, very natural colours. So that's it. Only have pictures of yourself and your partner in there, not your children or your mother or anything like that. No plants. Just make that a very neutral area so you get some very restful sleep. That's the idea.
Now, I do want to go back to the sinks for just a second. So I've got those
Yeah.
little pop-up things in my sinks. What about that? Do you have those in the UK?
Yeah, we do. And I get exactly what you're saying. And they are okay, in fairness. But we don't have them. They're not that every day when you buy a house. They don't come with a house like that.
Oh,
We seem to have the old-fashioned plugs. You get them in hotels, modern hotels, or not even in restaurants. But no, that's okay. But as long as you remember, oh yeah, because it filters down under, so they are fine. They are absolutely fine. Someone Feng Shui made them, I think.
so is it to leave them up, popped up,
Yeah,
is good? Is okay?
yeah, yeah, because it just filters through.
It just filters through. Absolutely. So those are some really simple things that folks can do to just get started with that and just keep the energy flowing around and then uncluttering, of course. Now, you know what? I also heard that in feng shui, if you want to attract a mate, have two things, like one on either side of the bed. So if you've got a nightstand, have two nightstands.
100%. 100%. Absolutely true. If you just have one, it doesn't work. You need to have two on your bed thing. That is absolutely true. But you also have to put the intention into your relationship area, which is in the southwest of your house, about 200 degrees, 210 degrees from the center of your house. So you find the center, find 210 degrees, and then make that. If you're bringing someone in, I'm trying to think of the flower that you're meant to put up. It's just gone today, what it is. But also rose quartz is very good to put in that area. Red or pink candles, just two. Spend time in that area. Don't have pictures of single people. Some people said, oh, I have got a couple up there. And I'm like, no, you've got a picture of a female and you've got a picture of a male. If you had them together, a picture of them together holding an umbrella or down by the beach, you have to see it and manifest what you want. Yeah. So you have to see it as something you manifest. You also have to spend time in it. And if the thing about manifesting a partner, it's not only doing that and having a nice manifest board, it's about actioning it. And I was listening to someone, I'm going to mention her name now, Mel Robbins. Mel Robbins, I think her name is. She's a famous podcaster in America. And she said, or someone of her who's on, what you have to do, the action for meeting someone is to go into a supermarket and start talking to the man beside you. Oh, you're buying carrots, not being stupid. Oh, yeah, I like that. And then just move on. So you're practicing dating by just saying a sentence to somebody and then moving on, because you lose your confidence in talking to who you would like to partner up with. Yeah. So the idea is put all that feng shui in and then make an effort when you're out there. If you're at the cinema, the people behind you just chat, what do you think of this artist? It's about actioning it as well. And that sounds like hard work. And you sound like, there was this guy, he was trying this jacket on. I was going up with my daughter-in-law and I went, oh, that jacket looks really nice on you. And I just walked up. So I'm so used to talking to people because that's my job. Yeah. And I talk all the time. And he went, do you really think so? Do you think my wife would like this? And I'm like, it really suits you. And then went up. And my daughter-in-law just laughed because she knows what I'm like. But it gives you practice in keep socializing.
And it brings that energy. It allows that energy flow too. It's like I'm giving energy out by talking to someone. I'm receiving their energy by entering this conversation. But yeah, from an energy perspective, it makes a lot of sense.
And the universe hears it.
Oh, yes, true. Yeah, that's a good point.
At home, the universe, you've got the house all sorted, all feng shuied up, and you've gone out and you're doing what the universe wants. Oh, this is what I really want.
And I'm going to practice doing that.
Okay.
That's a great idea. Great idea. Now, before we hit the record button, we were talking about the notion of abundance. Of course, we're radiating abundance today, but it's more than just wealth, isn't it?
It certainly is. Abundance, when I was choosing the title for the book, I had to think what I was going to call it. And for me, abundance is definitely happiness, having my friends around me, which is helpful people, being creative enough to write books, looking at earning money so that I can support my favorite charity and my world, looking after my children, the whole thing about abundance is, what does it mean to you? And I think it's a huge, huge, huge thing. So what does abundance mean to you, Christine?
Having the ability to do what I need to do when I need to do it, that certainly plays into it, but an abundance of ideas, an abundance of creativity, an abundance of friends. And I love the helpful people aspect of it. Not that there were attracting people to use them or drain their resources or anything at all, but for support and for exchanging this energy. I think it's very important.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the beauty of Feng Shui is you can have what you want. You've got to put the work in, yeah, and organize everything. And one other tip I want to say, that when you do decide to Feng Shui your house, only do 3 things. Only choose things, whether it's wealth, relationship, creativity, helpful. If you try and do the whole bagwork of the 9 sets of your house, your head will explode, yeah. So just do the 3. And when you're doing your plan on your house, yeah, which I hope you all will do, and what happens is if there's an area that you don't use in your house, yeah, or a room you put all your rubbish in, your Amazon boxes and all that sort of stuff, yeah, see what that area is and you will see that will be the part that's missing in your life. And then what you do is then you start working on that area and things start to align again.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm just kind of mentally looking at my house and thinking, okay, let's see what we can do with this. Now, you mentioned the 9 areas of the house, and like, what areas of the house do you feel like are most important?
The way to work out the directions on your house is to find the center of your house. Okay, it's very important. Now, some people have plans, some people don't. If you don't have plans, you can walk the line, as I say. So you walk horizontally, and you see how many steps that is, diagonally how many steps, and they go in halfway. So if it's 10 and 14, you go in 5 and in 7, and that's the center of your house. You then get a compass, and then you find the directions. It's easiest if you find north first, which is 0, yeah, because that's career. Not mentioned in my book again, but mentioned in my book again, it's got all the directions there in the segment, so you'll be able to work out exactly what the areas are. But in the south, which is 180 degrees, is fame. And it's also about yourself. So where you meditation, that sort of thing. Yeah, so the south is a good place. Southwest, which is about 210 degrees, is all about relationships. Very important to get that, because that's usually the most important one. Everyone thinks it's the wealth, but when I've started to drill down, it's generally the relationship one. Then you have creativity, which is in the west, which is 270 degrees. Then if you go to the northwest, it's 330 degrees. Helpful people, always worth doing a manifest board for that. So you put on there all the people that help you. And like you said, you're not using them, You just want them to help you and you will help them in return because that's a natural thing. But sometimes you put like mentors on there, people that you aspire to, that feel that you would like to influence you. So it's not just your friends and family, it's people that you would like to maybe interview on your podcast, you know? So you put them on there. So that's the northwest. Then you go to the north, which is 0 degrees, and that's career. If you're wanting to move forward in your career, then you'd put exactly what you wanted. But usually I put water there, like a water feature to move it. So I would have a water feature there and both my books out because that's my career for this year, promoting and selling my books and getting on podcasts and etc. and have my own radio show. Yeah, mine's huge, my thing. So that's 0 degrees. And then the next direction is 30 to 60 degrees, and that's wealth. Okay. So that's very important. Again, water there. If you can't put water outside, you can put like a fish tank. And if you don't like fish, you can just have the tank bubbling. And the idea of water bubbling is Feng Shui means wind and water. So the idea is that water's moving. That's why it's called Feng Shui. It's activating.
Wondering about now, if for whatever reason we don't want to have a water feature. I've had those before, and oh my goodness, they take some maintenance. And yeah, they do with the calcium buildup and everything else. So it takes some maintenance. And then I've got 2 cats, so I'm sure would just be in the water and track the water everywhere. But how about a photograph of water?
No.
No, it has to be actual water.
That's a firm no from me.
Oh, it was.
Because I mean, I lie, but what you could do if you have cats, they do the water features for cats that drink the water, so they're all quite sturdy. I have cats, so they're quite sturdy, and they have a daisy on the top, and the water goes, and the cats can drink it and splash it and everything, but they don't flip it over because they know they drink from it. Yeah, so you can do that, but it has to be moving water. The bigger the better. In my house, I have an Art Deco house, so I have a missing space. So where it is happens to be is in good fortune. So I've put a pond out there. Yeah. So I have outside water. But I get what you say about the water features because like, I have big water features and they do mess up. But I just think of it every time I work with my water feature, I think I'm helping myself in that area that I put it in to make that come. So I take it as a chore and sometimes it's a bit annoying, but I always think what I'm trying to achieve.
Another question I had for you is the front door. And I understand that is very important. But what if you don't typically use the front door?
Okay, so I understand because my front door is east. I come in from the northwest. So I use your class as the back door, yeah? So you have 2 front doors basically.
I was wondering about that. 2 front doors, and that doesn't mess anything up with the feng shui. So
you have to use it as 2 front doors. If you don't use your front door, you should. You should open it and shut it. Like you may have mailboxes outside, so you probably do that. But your main front door, you should use at least once a week in some form, even if it's just to open and let the energy in. But like you, so I have put my post box outside, and so I have to go out it. But my northwest door, yeah, that's the one I use. So it's white. It's actually where I've got my cat flap. So we've got a lot of activity going in the northwest, which is helpful people. Yeah. So that's you have to use the door where it is and what sector it's in and use the right color on it to make sure you get the right energy.
what is the right for door?
Yeah, so the color of your door is important as well. I did cover that in the book as well. So
Yeah.
if you have a back door in the northwest, it's white. Yeah. White, silver, that sort of color. If you have a door in the north, it's blue, green, blue. If you have a door in the south, it's red. All these little things, because you're actioning it, you're manifesting what you want to happen in that area.
Wow. Oh, that's
It's like little skins, isn't it?
what now?
It's like little little skins you're taking off. There's so much that you can do, and they're not huge things you've got to do. I'm not saying that, you know, that they're very small things, but every time you do something, you're manifesting that area for something to happen. That's the main thing. I've realized that is where the wealth door is in the northeast. Oh, that's the wealth door. Let's open it, bring the energy in. Yeah, I'll paint it burgundy red. Let's make it a positive in thing. income coming in that area.
I like that. Yeah, consider my back door. It's green.
What direction does it come in on?
It comes in on the north, but it's in the northeast corner.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, that's fine. But I wouldn't put white. I wouldn't have a white door there. Do you know what I mean? So you've got the right thing. But I think the luckiest people are people that have their kitchen in the northeast or their office in the northeast.
Oh,
Because
interesting.
they're living in the wealth area the whole time.
Yes, that's lovely. Wonderful. So, how can listeners use color and elements strategically? Because I know these are elements of feng shui to invite abundance into their lives. Are there some simple little things we can implement that we can
You
implement?
can. There are different elements for different areas. So to boost your house in these areas, if we say south, which you can imagine must be red, so it's the element for that is fire. So fire in the south will, because it's active, will push forward the Feng. That's quite good. North is water, so lots of water in the north, which is where I said to put a water feature. Northwest, the element, and the west is metal, metal objects. Also, metal is nourished by earth, so you would put plants with round edges in and lots of earth, so that nourishes the area. So there's lots of little tricks for it. In fact, there's loads and loads of tricks. But when you know the elements, which again are in the book, Feng Shui Your Way to Abundance, then you can actually simply go to those areas, take out the ones that clash with that area. So like you wouldn't have a wooden table in the northwest, you'd have a glass table so that the energy works for that, because glass tables with metal things, they just work in those areas. If you come to my house, which obviously I do peek behind the curtain where I teach people, and they come in, they're like, oh my God, you really have your house like there's no wood here, but there's wood here and there's earth there. And the beauty of having my house is I can actually teach, because I live the life. I feng shui so they can come in and see it. And that is the gain of having that. If you declutter, put the right elements in, things will definitely move. Color is a funny thing, because if I say red here or yellow here, there's so many forms of it, isn't there? That, you know, when you say red, there's lots of forms of that color. If I say orange, in the orange, red, and pink in the southwest, which is the relationship area, it gives a lot of scope for people who worry with color. Like your glasses are turquoise, but that's blue, isn't it?
Yeah, true.
I mean, I love the fact with the Pantones, you can literally enjoy the whole thing. My whole house is grey, by the way, purely grey, yeah. But what I do is I put accessories in for the colours of the area, because I could be OCD. I don't want red here and yellow there and blue there, because I'm not that person. My car's grey, I wear black. Do you know what I mean? That's me, blue jeans, that sort of thing. But for people who love colour, it's exciting to be able to have the opportunity to do it. But what I'm saying for people like me, grey, and then just add the accessories.
Yes. There is a lot that goes into this. People should really read your book. Where can they find it?
It's on Amazon, and you have a really big name shop. I don't know, over in America.
Barnes and Noble?
That's it. Barnes and Noble. Yes. Barnes
Yeah.
and Noble and Amazon. It came out, about 10 days ago in America. And I know that people are getting it now, so it must be that it's going out within 24 hours now. So yeah, it's on Amazon. And this is obviously in the UK, it came out first, and it crashed everything, went through. I feel so blessed, because it just crashed through everything, and it's still doing really well. So yeah.
Oh, that's gotta feel wonderful. But that's not the only thing that you have available. I'm looking at your website, which incidentally is janinelowe.co.uk, which will be in the show notes. But you've got a podcast too.
Yeah, so my first book, Date, Love, Marry, Avoid. So the very
Yeah.
first book I ever wanted to write as a Chinese astrologer was a dating book. So who should go out with who, what date they should go on, why they get on, should they go. So every Chinese animal, I've gone through every Chinese animal and who they should actually go out with. And so people come back to me and go, oh my God, I shouldn't be with my husband. I go, you can be with your husband, but know why you don't get on sometimes, because it tells you the traits of different people. And then one woman, she hasn't dated in 2 years. And when she found out that she should be dating a rat, she went to the dating sites and went and asked them, are you a rat? I really should actually get in touch with the dating site and say, I don't know what they're called now, Tinder, Bumble, whatever, and say, would you like me to come and help you?
There's this dating app called Boo, and I was on this for a little bit, and they looked at your, it's like INFPENJ, whatever, Myers, what's your Myers-Briggs. They look at your star sign, but it would be wonderful to add in there your Chinese zodiac.
Yeah, it's amazing. The book's done really well. I'm very proud of it. But that was like a tongue-in-cheek book, although all the information in there is exactly right. I just had fun with it. I wrote it in 2020 when there wasn't a lot to do. I couldn't go and see my clients, so I wrote it. And yeah, it would have been a dream to write it, because when I go to people when I'm feng shuiing them, you can see if the house matches the people and the people in the house match it. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I do. I do. So when you go and feng shui a house, do you have to be there physically, or can you work from photographs or video or anything like that?
So I used to do a lot of traveling, obviously, but I had to change that for a period, and I found a way around it. So I can actually now feng shui from far away, as long as they do all the video as I want, all the directions I want. They have to give me lots of information. We spend quite a long time together making sure that everything's right. And when they've done everything, they then have to come back and show me they've done everything. But it's only because I'm a little OCD and I want it to work for them. So yes, I can do it virtually. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. And I see that we can do that and book you actually on your website, again, janinelowe.co.uk. So I would recommend anybody to look into this. Why not? What can it hurt if you unclutter a drawer or paint a wall red or change your table out? See what happens. And pick up this book. It's got lots of great information in there. And then I can't wait to listen to your Date, Love, Marry, Avoid podcast. I'm going to bookmark that and subscribe, follow.
Yeah, I've done about 7 on there, and Feng Shui Your Way to Abundance comes out this next 2 weeks. But thank you.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me here today. This is a lot of fun. And I do encourage everybody to check out your website and all the things you have to offer. The feng shui, the Chinese astrology. I think all of this stuff does work. And we just need to learn about it. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Christy.
Don't know what to watch next? Decisions. Well, we've got some suggestions. You can click this little video here and watch that. It's something that we think you're going to like. If you like the last one, you're going to like that one too. You can also click on the subscribe button. And if you do that, then you'll get notifications whenever we have a new video up. Win-win, right?